She was shopping me. She
Yeah.
lost her first deal with the napkin pre-approval from a broker.
Hmm.
I kept pursuing her because she wouldn't let us pull credit. So the other broker gave her a letter, and bottom line, I call her, she's crying.
Ooh.
The woman's 30. She makes 80 something thousand on her job. She is she's a lacrosse coach for like 15-year-old girls. So she's leaving her job to go to lacrosse practice. She inherited money. She has $645,000 in her UBS account. Her dad died 5 years ago. He gave her 300,000 in the will. Her grandmother is 104, Sam.
Wow.
104, and she's been gifting her money like 10,000 a year or 20,000, and the girl has saved about 100,000 on her own. So when I got her to commit, because I just said, Kara, you lost the deal because like there wasn't communication with me, your realtor. We never got a chance to call the listing agent. How much was your earnest money? Guess what she said? It was a $580,000 deal that she lost.
2,500
What do you
bucks.
think? Huh?
2,500.
5,000.
Still
you
low.
have six,
Hey,
so,
hey, time out, Brendan. Hold on. So I'm just curious. Is this the same prospect that you quote lost to the low price leader about a month ago or 3 weeks ago?
yeah.
Yeah,
So here's the deal. Or maybe not. I can't remember.
I think it
So
is.
my brain said this: email realtor and email client, and in subject line, we need to meet on conference call for 15 minutes to review bullet points for next offer to ensure it gets accepted.
Mhm.
Benton sat on the call. The agent's an 8-year agent, not a bad guy. We can look up his stats later. So I essentially said, hey, thanks for joining. Kara and I have discussed her approval. She's got a loan commitment. It's different than a loan pre-approval, Sean. She committed to our upfront program, and it's been through underwriting. I've given her a mortgage scale to show her options, and here's what I want to go through. And so what I proceeded to go through was like 4 bullet points, and I'll see if I can remember them. But the very first one was, let's talk about earnest money. And I had a conversation with Kara, and I said, listen, if you have money, use it.
Yeah. Should have been
There's
25,000.
So there's no seller on the planet. So 25,000 is my recommendation. She wrote a check last night for 25,000. Number 2, I can't remember these, but the bottom line is, I think I explained to the realtor, hey, she's got the commitment so we can close quicker. Then I said, hey, it's critical that you guys text me when there's one thing to say, hey, we're going to go look at 7 properties. There's another, hey, there's 7 properties, but there's one she's really interested in.
Yeah.
And I said, Kara, when you're really interested in one, text me. Guess what happened 2 nights ago? They both texted me, hey, we're really interested in 2301 Porter Road. Benton, what was the last thing I discussed? Earnest money,
Let me pull up
timing.
the notes. You were trying to dissuade them from doing something, if I remember correctly.
I don't know about that. Well,
Yeah, Brendan never dissuades anything.
No,
Well,
it was like some aspect of it.
well, here's the. I'm going to get to the finish.
Bidon, I think when you were describing it to me, it was earnest money. It was closing timeline. It was communicating with you prior to offer so that you could get and discuss strategy. And then maybe the last one was the call that you make to the listing agent.
The last thing you said was earnest money. You advised that it should be a large check, at least $20,000, and you said that the money would probably come back to them.
Well, the money would be counted or come back on home inspection. So I think the one thing that I talked about was the call to the other agent, And I had said this, hey, Sean, would you care if I get you the approval letter and let's say it's over the weekend, for timing's sake, do you care if I make the call prior to the agent having the offer in her hand? Or would you care? And he said no. And I said, the reason why I don't mind making that phone call is that I can do what I do. And I try to say 3 different times, hey, if your client were to accept our client's offer, do you have a question about appraisal? You know, hey, if your client were to accept our client's offer, do you have a question about timeline? Okay, hey, if your client were to accept my client's offer, do you have a question about earnest money or like anything about their loan? Because I have a loan commitment letter. And he listened to all that and was like, hey, no problem. Because you don't want to step on their, I don't know this agent. Moral of the story, we'll see if they go under contract this morning to close in April. We will see if that all comes true. And I called the agent last night, the listing agent, left her a message and texted her. Didn't get my chance to talk to her. But yesterday I get this phone call from Sean Fitzgerald. Look him up. I don't know who he's with. Look up Sean Fitzgerald, Realtor, Nashville. And he goes, hey, Brendan, yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, hey, and he stopped and he goes, I just want to tell you something. And I wish I had fucking recorded it, because he goes, man, you know, with everything that's going on, like, I've worked with some good lenders and you're like totally different. It's like slow. And he goes, like, you're like the doctor. He says this, he fucking said it. He's like, you're like the doctor that like takes a client like all the way through everything and into the backyard. And I was like, okay. And he goes, well, I'm sure this is going to be okay with you, but I'd like to start sending all my buyers to you.
Nice. Yeah.
And I go, well, shit, cool. And I was just like, I wish I could record.
Limit of 2 a month.
Yeah. Well, and I said, hey, why don't we get through this one? Obviously, I really appreciate the compliment. Thanks for noticing. And I think, you know, I said, Sean, honestly, there's like, we need to work together more, like not just you and me, but like realtors and lenders, because here's the thing. He wouldn't have known how to tell her to write a check for 20 or 25. This girl's got 650,000. She's a single female. She's strong-willed. She's engaged, but she still kind of operates independent because the boyfriend, fiance, I think is a broke ass. Like, he hasn't been involved. So she's very headstrong. I think the meeting of the minds on how to make an offer that gets accepted, if you can do it on a Zoom, you're just reinforcing your value to that realtor. Because honestly, guys, I think realtors suck at playing poker. I think there's good ones and there's really shitty ones.
Well, they don't know how to play.
Yeah. And then if you say, keep me in the loop, let's talk about earnest money. Let's talk about what strengths we have. We can close quickly, Sean. Like, we're at a point where if you offered, you know, on March 30th, we could close on April 16th. Let's everybody pull out their calendar. Let's use that to our advantage. Think about it. If you don't communicate any of that to a realtor, and then the realtor is out there on the hood of their car getting ready to write some offer, like, they're coming up with it on the fly.
Yeah.
They don't know how to execute. They ask the client what they want. Lock it down before they ever even go write one.
It's important because, like, just with the earnest money, it's like, what is putting $5,000 down versus $25,000 down? What does that tell you if you're the listing agent? You're putting $5,000 down, you're not that excited about it. Putting $25,000, you love this house, right? Don't you want to select somebody that's not going to TNR during an inspection? Of course you do. That's a great point, and I think a lot of us just forget about that earnest money piece, right? Huge.
All I know is this: I've got 2 more of these set up, one today and one Monday. And I think what I want to do, and Benton, we need to do this, is that Smart Start Let's get the fluffy shit out of the Smart Start packet and then create our upfront, our concierge upfront loan commitment program. And what it'll have is everything that we do when you commit to us. And this will be one of them.
Yeah.
You know, a joint call with your realtor on how to structure your first offer so that you have the highest likely of it getting approved. Because there's nothing more disappointing. Oh, click here, watch Kiri video with Kara when she sucked and couldn't commit to any lender and lost the house of her dream. Oh, here, watch this one where a couple shopped us with Rocket Mortgage, lost that deal. Click here, client had 6 attempts, blown out of the water every time, then hired us. Like, it would be great to have that.
Hey,
So I
Brendan.
don't know how much VA business you guys do, but I had a really good learning experience over the course of the past year. One of my good friends was working with an agent who, over time, we realized like he didn't realize what he was doing. And
Yeah.
like you said, Brendan, you know, I'm still new, so I was learning. And a lot of my prior VA purchases had been around military installations where the listing agents understand that a lot of the veterans are going to put 0% down. And so small amounts of earnest money, it's not a red flag in those areas.
Yeah.
Well, my friend Tim, over the course of 2023, I kid you not, 7 offers on 7 different places. None of them got accepted. And finally, I reached out to somebody else and I was like, hey, like, what's going on here? This can't be right. This can't just be the market. And came to find out, like talking to another friend who's a real estate agent, that there's still a lot of misinformation on VA loans. And I know that our company does have some really cool resources that I like on the one that got accepted, and he's closing actually on the 15th of this month. Like I give the listing agent these, you know, like FAQs on VA loans, you know, to kind of combat a lot of the misinformation that's out there. And we also did a much larger earnest money deposit on this deal.
Yeah.
So I think it was
Good idea.
listing price was 422 and he put 10,000. Where
Yeah,
like, you know, in the past it had only been like 2 or 3.
Ed, you know what's funny is that I think, contrary to belief, most veterans do have a decent amount saved and can put money in. If they ultimately decide to finance 100%, that's their prerogative. So you hit the nail on the head. They do have money. Are you making phone calls to listing agents?
I've started doing it now. Yeah, after that experience.
Do you want to role play? Do you want to role play and we'll listen?
Sure.
Hello,
What role?
you're calling me. Hello, this is Fred.
Hey, Fred, this is Ed. It's a nice name, except you've got an F in front of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I just wanted to call you today, give you the warm and fuzzies about my client. They're extremely well qualified. I know that they're using a VA loan, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. But we got a client with, you know, credit that is over 750. And this is actually going to be the second house that he will have when he purchases this. And he is so strongly qualified that the purchase of this and his qualification is not even contingent on the sale of his other house. So there's absolutely no concerns when it comes to qualification. I know that there's a lot of misinformation out there with VA loans. Contrary to public belief or, you know, popular belief, this is not going to cost your seller anything extra. I'm going to go ahead and shoot you over an FAQ that my company has that kind of goes over, you know, some of the things to know about VA loans. But are there any questions that you have for me?
Yeah, I saw the pre-approval letter, and they're working with, you know, Fred Flintstone over at ABC Realty.
Yeah, they were with Barney Rubble at first, but things didn't work out.
Barney, okay, Barney and Wilma. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, I'll, you know, maybe there's other offers coming in, and you know, I'll have to talk to my seller about it.
Gotcha. Well, one of the things that I can say is that it's been a long journey for him, and they are very, very eager to get into their home. They actually just they've got a newborn, just had a little baby boy about 3 weeks ago. So they are very eager to close as quickly as possible if that is something that your seller is interested in. We're going to be full steam ahead. So if that objective aligns with you to close ASAP, then that's what we'll do.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate the phone call. I'll definitely try to relay some of this to my seller and appreciate the call, man. Thanks.
Of course.
All right. Ring, ring. Gloracell.
Yabba dabba do.
Yabba dabba do. Gloracell's on. Hello, this is Fred.
Hey, Fred, this is Gloracell. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Wait, hold on. You're the listing? I got confused.
Uh-huh. You're
Okay.
you're the loan officer with the same VA client that Ed had.
Got it. Okay. Hey, I just wanted to give you a call.
By the way, did you guys hear that? Hey.
Hey.
Woo!
Uh,
God, I'm not even,
um,
I can't see anything. I'm just looking at my blank screen. I'm like, whoa. Okay, hi, this is Fred.
Hey, Fred, you're about to
Wait,
receive.
time out. Do you remember when Michael, like a year ago,
Here it comes. I knew it was coming.
was talking to that lady and he's like, hey girl, don't you forget about me, girl. Do you remember that?
I don't know if it was quite like that. But
Oh, it was.
You'll never live it down, but it
100.
wasn't quite like that.
It was like,
Hey.
don't you forget about me. One of the greatest pickup lines of a realtor ever. All right. Hey, this is Fred.
Hey,
Gloracell.
Fred, this is Gloracell over at Mutual Mortgage. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. I'm giving you a call because one of my clients is about to make an offer at your listing at 123 Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
Cool.
working with, Nick the Realtor, one of
Okay.
our top agents. So you should see that offer going through. It is a VA loan, but I do want to let you know that it is fully underwritten. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
not going to be a financing contingency on it. The borrower is well qualified. Can you tell me any information about the listing? How'd you get it?
Oh, great question. There's some past clients of mine. They're relocating to Cleveland.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, are they going to need, any extra time while they relocate in the home? What's their timeline for? Are they still in the home, or do they need a little longer? What's their timeline for moving out?
They're trying to get to Cleveland in the next 30 to 45 days.
Okay,
They
excellent.
have a place that they really want to try to make an offer on. So,
Okay.
and they're going to need to sell. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, what we can do if you'd like a little bit of a shorter closing, we can make that happen for you. That way they have plenty of time to get this settled before moving into the new home. As far as the appraisal go, we have great panels that are, set up in that area. So shouldn't have any, issues with the appraisal. And the borrower is well qualified and ready to move in. We can make this, close as quickly as you need to.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Appreciate the call. Quick question on VA appraisals. What's the deal?
Well, it is VA, right? So it doesn't technically have an appraisal contingency, but what we can do is we can ensure that you get it back pretty quickly. I know they have probably a 3 or 4 day due diligence. So if it makes you feel more comfortable, we can rush it and get it back before that timeline. That way, if anything comes up with the appraisal, you would know right away.
I'm just concerned that like the VA might lowball it. I mean, we're in a competitive situation. So I don't know what the final offer is from your agent. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we
I'm just
haven't
concerned about that.
Yeah, no, we've done a lot of VA. I've done a lot of VA loans this year, and that hasn't been the case at all, especially in this area and that market where home prices are steadily increasing. We've had no issues with appraisals at all this year, so I don't think that should be any issue for concern. But if you'd like I said, we can do a rush and get it back really quickly, so that way, if anything were to come up, there's plenty of time.
Okay.
For you. Yeah.
Pause for 1 second. What's the VA's appraisal rebuttal system called?
Tidewater.
Yeah.
Tidewater. So I learned that Gloracell, the best response if someone's giving you feedback or kickback, they're worried about the stodgy old, curmudgeon-y appraiser who shows up and screws the deal.
Yeah.
You can simply say, hey, I don't know if you were aware of this, but VA, different from FHA and conventional, is the only loan program that has a systemized rebuttal system. It's called the Tidewater Act. And so if we have any issue, unlike a conventional appraisal, where that appraiser can just dig his heels in and not really respond, VA actually has a structured system that you can submit comps and the appraiser is required on a timeline to get back to us. Were you aware of that?
That's good.
Like that's the uppercut?
Yeah,
the-
for sure.
So
Oh,
Go
can I
ahead.
make one more comment too? So I think the only comment I would make is that we're assuming people hate VA loans. So I would just, what I would tweak a little bit with that would be say, hey, Fred, let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked with a VA buyer before?
yeah, a couple times.
Okay, how'd it go?
I can't really recall, but I
Yeah.
I don't think we had issues.
Yeah, no, I mean, we do a lot
Navy
of
Fed
VA.
dropped the ball.
It's okay. That's okay. That's why we're doing this. Hey, we
Well,
do a
let me say this. Let me do this direction. Sometimes you're going to get competitive bid, and someone's going to say, "Yeah, I just VA with the whole zero down. I'm just worried about like anywhere where the appraisal could screw up, or maybe the veteran. I'm just concerned."
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I totally get that, but I will say this. Haven't done loans for 28 years. VA loans are, and you're probably aware that VA loans are absolutely hands down the best loans out there for our borrowers. And not to mention, they're for our veterans. And it's just, thank God the government is actually doing something to help our veterans. Like it's finally a perk that they could use and they deserve. So, in this case, we've actually taken an extra step and gotten them all the way through underwriting. So we have a full commitment letter. And I think I sent that over to you. I don't know if you took a look at that yet. So at least from the financing perspective, we're done. It's completely done. And question, have you ever worked with Nick, our agent? Have you ever worked with Nick on Nick the Realtor?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Been working with Nick for about 10 years. You're going to love working with him. He is like just on top of it. His communication is spotless, and I'm just no drama. You're going to really, really like working with him. And then also too, we're going to send out updates every Tuesday to you, to Nick, and to our buyer, just to let you know exactly where we're at in the process. And what I see a lot of our listing agents doing is they're just going to turn around that and give it right to their sellers as an update every Tuesday. Would that be helpful for you?
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen the offer yet.
Okay.
So Michael, you're going through, I mean, this is gold. So we did 3 role plays. And Ed, when Michael says, 28 years of VA experience, you can just say, you know what, Mr. Agent, I've got a long time in this business. I mean, it seems like a long time, and I've worked with a lot of VA buyers.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean,
a long time.
I ride Dustin's coattails, and I take his line that he says, which is something about however many years in a row of leading the country in VA purchase loans. Our team.
Yeah, that's great.
Which I would single digit percentage contribution here, but
and
contribution.
No hey, you have quite a bit of experience. So the one thing that I've heard, so here is feedback to everyone. It was all good. Everybody had a little factoid in there or something that sounded good. Remember this, as inventory holds tight and listings become valuable, and that listing agent isn't as receptive as me, they have a shit ton going on, and they're just kind of like half listening, but maybe they're listening. I think that each one of you, the what question and or a how question, like Gloria said, how did you get the listing?
Yeah.
I think that pattern interrupt and them talking versus you talking about whatever it is you're excited about. You got to remember, you just told them something verbally for 2 or 3 minutes, and then they're going to have to try to translate whatever you said to their seller. And remember, they have other offers, and then the seller is going to look at like highest and best and timing. And so the key would be, okay, I think just getting to questions fast is critical.
Yeah.
And I think Gloricel was onto something. You know, I always like, hey, you know, John, this is Brendan. I'm calling about your listing. I just say, this is Brendan, and I'm calling about your listing at 204 Hiawatha Street.
Mm-hmm.
Pause. Oh yeah. And then I'll say, hey, my clients are about to make an offer or have made an offer.
Yep.
And then they'll go, oh, and I always love it when they go, wait, are you an agent? I was like, no, I'm their lender. And then I immediately say, yeah, they came to me a month ago in my office. They're working with Nick. And I think they've either made the offer or they're about to make the offer. And then they'll immediately go, oh yeah, Nick with Compass. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. I just try to do that right away. And then they still don't know who I am. It's like, okay. And then I always try to say this, hey, before we get started, congrats on getting the listing. You must be overwhelmed right now. Now, let's say it's been on the market 30 days and we see it. Hey, congrats on getting the listing. It looks like a month ago or so. Hey, congrats on getting the listing 6.5 months ago. If it's 1 day on market, you fucking say, excuse me? Hello? If it's 1 day or 2 days on market, congrats on getting the listing. You must be in overwhelm right now. Then shut up. Oh man, oh geez, yeah, it's been nuts. And then Gloricel, without even saying, how did you get it? They might say, yeah, my clients, you know, I helped them buy this. Like they're going to play their violin. Let them say, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And like, it's just, agents don't hear congratulations much.
Right.
And then they're going to say something. And then you could say, oh, that's really cool. Well, you know, real quick, how did you, is this like, are these your past clients? If you look at pictures on Zillow and you see furniture, you know, people are still living there. If it's empty, you could just say, hey, you know, I checked out Zillow. It looked like it's empty. Or is this like an investor or how did you get this deal?
Sounds like the love technique.
Yeah. Hey, how did you get it? You're just trying to fish information.
Yeah.
Every one of you, including Michael, were like, the reason why I make the call is I want to win the deal. I want to get information. You guys were giving information. This is a subtle shift, but a kick in the head.
Well, I think Gloricel, what I love about Gloricel, I mean, she did the whole appraisal panel thing, which typically works. It typically works unless it's a VA deal. But what I loved about what she did was trying to find another angle that we could leverage. For example, I think you said something like, hey, they have another house. Are they, you know, have they moved out yet? Will they need a little extra time?
Well, and Michael, I think that's
and then
the
stop
key.
And listen. I think,
yes.
Right? The gold is in the pause.
Mm-hmm. So I think it could be, how did you get the list? Hey, that's awesome. That's great. I saw the pictures. You've been on the market a couple of days. You know, just out of curiosity, real quick, how did you get the listing? You already told them congratulations. They might have said thanks. Now you have an opportunity to ask a question. So here's where the other shift needs to occur. Every one of you was, and Gloricel asked that, started to dig. I think when we're presenting, well, and everyone, hey, just so you know, the clients came in, they committed to our program. We got them through underwriting. So the piece of paper you're looking at is worth its weight in gold. Like we're all going to go there. And any lender that does make a call is going to say the same thing. They're really, really approved. They're all the way around the bases. We've done all our homework. Ed kind of did the softy, like, oh my God, he's about to have a baby. You know, you have no idea. He got dumped by his girlfriend in college. He went through counseling.
He really did just have a kid, though. I didn't make that up.
My point is you went the heartstring route. That doesn't tell me anything
Damn
about
right.
this. Here's the thing though, Ed. It doesn't tell you anything about the listing agent and the seller's motive. You're just presenting that you think you have an ace. You didn't ask any questions. So I think the goal of the call is for you to get inside that listing agent's head, crawl around, and see if they will reveal something to you. Otherwise, I mean, I do think the rudimentary call and the, hey, my client's really qualified and you'll get this, this, and this. And if you take the offer, so here's the easy thing to think. Here's the script. There's a pause. He says something, she says something. You tell them that there's a loan approval or a loan commitment. And then you can say this, instead of, do you have any questions or what questions do you have? You say this, well, hey, Fred, if your clients were to accept my client's offer today, what questions do you have for me or would you have for me? Start there. You could say this, hey, Fred, if your clients were to accept my client's offer today, what questions do you have about the appraisal? You're going specific. You're trying to uncover, is there a concern? Hey, Fred, great. No appraisal concerns because we're putting down 25%, or we covered the VA thing. Number 2 time. Well, hey, Fred, I want to ask one more question. If your clients were to accept my client's offer today, do you have a question about the timeline? I'm looking at my phone right now. It's April 5th. It's Friday. What was the timeline? I don't know what my realtor said on the offer about closing, but what were your sellers thinking? You're going to get, my sellers need time, they don't need time. You guys understand? Like, you have to ask. And then, oh, okay, so they say something about my sellers, you know, they're super flexible. You could say this to follow that up. So if they accepted our offer today, would a quick closing benefit everybody? Because it's the 5th, and I kind of mentioned to you a couple minutes ago that I have a loan commitment. I could probably close this on the 26th very easily. That would be 3 Fridays from today. What, real quick, what title company do you guys like working with? I'm just like coming at them. Oh, you use Keystone? Oh, we use Rudy. Okay, that could be easy. So I've said it twice. I'm trying to subliminally make him think or her think, you know, I'm saying the words. If your seller were to accept my client's offer, is there any other thing that I need to know, or that you can, you know, is there any other concern on your part? Are you concerned about their cash? Because I think they're writing an earnest money check for X. Are you concerned about communication? Did anything have, like, you want them to be like, oh yeah, well, a deal blew up on inspection. It was a nitpicky inspection. And, oh, okay, well, nitpicky, do you know the reason why they walked? Like, you want to go back to your buyer's agent and go, we just found a little nugget. I'd prefer the listing agent, you know, like eventually 8 minutes in, go, hey man, I got to run, but I appreciate the call. And you got all the stuff from them, because they're not going to remember a lot of it. They're not. Obviously, they'll remember that you made the call. Oh, the other thing, being a local lender in your own market, I think if you're doing long distance stuff, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage. So you might want to talk about that if you are doing out of state business. But if it's in state, that's another one. Just, these are just ideas. The goal is get as much information as you can so you can leverage and win. And, you know, this is not about calling your buyer's agent and going, hey, I made the call. That's part of it. But the real beef is that when you come back and go, hey, the agent told me everything. Here's what we need to do.
Hey, and by the way, if the offer's already made and they have multiples and they tell you that, well, we've got several offers. Ask them open-endedly. Oh, okay, how do we stack up? And then shut up.
Mm.
You will hear, like, once in a, if they're smart, they'll say, well, we're still reviewing them. They'll be coy and they won't tell you anything. But 3/4 of the time, they will tell you, well, you're 5,000 under, but who knows? Most agents will sing, and you just need to listen.
Yeah, and you're not the buyer's agent. You're just the
Right.
lender.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Less defense. Yeah.
I think this takes practice. I think every deal's a little different. I think that some agents will just hang up on you pretty quickly. But I think if you can start to maybe go ahead.
Do you guys ever recommend to your agents or clients escalation clauses?
Yes, that's a whole nother topic, but yes, in certain cases, for sure.
Yeah, I think right now we're not there. Nashville could get there pretty quickly, but
we are here in some pockets.
Yeah, and it's always the art of the deal, right? Well, we were going to talk about networking groups.
Okay, well, maybe we'll do that next week. Sam, what were we talking about?
Well, it's funny. This kind of role-playing stuff, hopefully
it's good stuff.
Hopefully it's helpful for you guys, because I think when you start to just go, okay, the art of the deal, and you got to remember, like, be selfish. Like, the faster you can get someone approved and the more you can, pretend like they're your best friend from college and you're willing to do anything it takes to win a deal for them, like, okay, and like, selfishly, can you be creative to get the listing agent to tell you stuff versus like, you're thinking that you're on a stage performing for a buyer's agent and you're like, look at me, look at what I did. Screw that. You want to get paid. You want to put that loan in your April pipeline and get paid.
Yeah, that's the biggest takeaway from me. As
good.
Dustin will tell me that all the time. Shut up and do more listening than you do talking.
Yeah.
And ask what questions?
All of them. Targeted questions.
And
ask the right questions, Jeff G.
Yeah, and slip in, hey, if your client were to accept my client's offer, what questions do you have about appraisal, cash for closing, timeline? What questions do you have about inspection if they have an inspection contingency? Well, I don't know. An inspection, appraisal, timeline, cash. What if you could get it out 7 times? If your client were to accept my client's offer, what questions do you have about their credit scores? What are they? 780. Great. If your clients were to accept my client's offer, what question do you have about how long they've lived in their last residence? I don't know. Well, 2 years. If your client were to accept my client's offer, what questions do you have about how they make cheeseburgers at McDonald's? I'm cracking myself up. Sam, you're not fun enough.
Brendan, I've got a day-to-day, and I wanted to be on this call more than anything because it's going to help me get through the day. So while I may not be contributing, I kind of feel like you have no idea. I literally have been excited for this call all day, and you cracking yourself up is going to send me. You gave me what I needed.
Hey, these are the little things that make a big difference in lending, right? Do you play checkers or do you play chess?
It's true. But Brendan, listen, I'm not kidding you. I'm pitching in Alaska, Oregon, Denver, Nashville, Chicago, and the Carolinas today. Not a joke. Every time zone other than Hawaii. And I needed you to send me off with the energy to get through the day.
Yeah, and so then you're closing. I mean, if you were to switch firms and join ours, what questions do you have about what type of vacation and private jet flights I will offer you in the future to Vegas and private islands? What questions do you have about that?
And then shut up.
Well, back full circle. It's if you're doing these calls, a system we talked about, just kind of rewinding, maybe regrouping with your buyer and the agent, especially when you don't know them. But hey, let's say this guy turns out to be a dud. Sean Fitzgerald made me a promise, said he wants to start working with me. I'll keep you guys informed on that. But I do think that when you're getting that kind of feedback, all I could think of when the guy said, hey, I'm sure you're not going to be opposed, but I want to start working with you, is I literally had a little Michael Anthony moment right there. It was like,
Yeah.
I was just I was Mikey waking up at 5, doing the fucking wad and like getting the result. Because Mike, you are the counterbalance to you're always executing on those systems, and they're gaining you market share because you're doing them. So I think I'm no longer going to let anyone be pre-approved all the way to third base and not have the regroup call with the agent to talk through bullet points. And to me, there's nothing worse than if they do everything, but then you don't really help the client in that final negotiation. And some of you might say, God, that's a lot. But I'd be like, well, wait a minute. If they commit to you, you can't commit to them a 15-minute call with the realtor to like make sure that it's done right.
To get a deal, that's a no-brainer, right? You stop everything you're doing to do that.
Yeah. And how many of you have gotten that, hey, we're under contract. And it's like, yeah, it's going to be May 2nd. You're like, what about April 30th?
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, because you weren't involved. You gave the letter early in the week. Agent didn't communicate with you. They took the letter, they did their thing, and you just get the contract. You're like, okay, well, May 5th, I'll deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, can you help move the needle? So next time we'll talk about networking groups, Michael.
Yeah, we'll do that. This is good. This is topical. I mean, anything to help get deals. So yeah, next week, networking.
Hey, oh, and one last little thing. Michael, we did a call yesterday. I think there was 10 lenders. It was Atlanta and Nashville. There was, at the height of the call, there were 53 on the call, Michael.
53, but one of them had a team of 11 watching one TV in their office.
So it was just the NAR settlement. We talked to realtors about what they need to know about lending, the lending components like IPC, and then we talked about their buyer presentation. Here's the funny part. Michael, have you looked at any of the buyer presentations that the realtors sent you yet?
No. I haven't gotten any of the actual presentations.
So I've gotten 2 so far. I'm waiting on a third. One of the things that I think we should do with Benton and like Moom's marketing department, and this is just for all of us, we should really, most buyer presentations are HR pitches. Welcome to Cleveland. We have 5 pro teams. Our schools are in the following area. It's like, it's just an HR packet. It's not a buyer. They may have a buyer broker agreement, but they're not doing a systematic sale on why to hire them.
Right.
So I think that if we have, and I want to look at more, somebody might have a sales pitchy one, which I think would be cool. But I think it'd be pretty neat to eventually, Michael, almost like through Dino and the Ultimate Business Partners,
Create one. Yeah.
Like create what we call the lender, buyer, broker, realtor giveaway. Like here's a 5-page kind of template that you could put your picture in, put your logo, and it's something that we formulate so that the average dumb realtor, 5 years or less experience, if we said, if you meet your client at a Starbucks and go through this 5-page presentation in order, you will close them on you.
Well, I like it.
Like, and it has nothing to do with like, hey, I know more about schools. It's like something that's like, I go back to Rene Rodriguez and like Cutco knives. It's like a systematic sale.
Sure.
Anyways, I think that would be really cool, especially right now, Because think about it, all of them are working on their buyer presentation to get to, hey, you're going to pay us 2 or 3%.
I got to
So-
call with Dino today at 1. I'll talk to him about it.
All right, I might be on that. That's on my calendar.
Okay.
All right,
See you, everybody.
Sam, good luck. Everybody, have a great
Let's sell.
weekend.
We'll go get some deals. Let's go. See you. What?
Michael Anthony, hold on.
All right.
No, I just wanted to give you some feedback from, you remember the loan we were talking about in Vegas? The guy whose grandmother was going to give him money to buy the $1.5 million home.